Artemis, with Starship, with all the things. So let's get into this. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. This is the Space News Pod directly from Starbase Studio B in Brownsville, Texas. Today there is a road closure going on at SpaceX Starbase. So there could be something possibly cool happening down there. And we're going to be keeping an eye on that and letting you guys know what's going on. Road closure happening. The Starship SN20 has been moved to the chopsticks, which means something's happening. We're not exactly sure if they're going to be lifting Starship today, but we do have. Let me just show you this before we get into the HLS stuff. I'm just going to show you the road closures for the next few days, so we can kind of take a look at this. Monday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Wednesday and Thursday both from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So today they moved Starship to the chopsticks, to the lift arms, if you will, at Starbase. And I'm going to show you what that looks like actually real quick. Like, here we go. Starship at the chopsticks. That's what it looks like. This is some footage I took a little bit ago. Starship has been moved to the chopsticks. Does this mean Ship 20 will be lifted up on high on top of Booster 4? Or are they doing lift tests for Ship 20, like up and down lift tests without putting it onto the booster? Debs, we got our first Starship for the day. Debs, thanks for the $2 super chat. Thank you so much. That'll help out. Hello from Erie, PA, Gary Cunningham. I used to live near Erie. I used to go to Erie all the time, and it was really fun. I really did enjoy it. It's a very cool place. Now I gotta you got one more Starship landing, Debs. You little tiny Starship, because you did a super chat. Thank you for that, Debs. Really cool, very amazing. So this is what Ship 20 looks like on the chopsticks. So what's gonna happen today? Not exactly sure. Right? What's the future? What is the future of Ship 20 and Booster 4? We don't know. Let's just put that out there. Nobody really knows what the future for Ship 20 is and Booster 4. So let's go back to the HLS. Human Landing System, if you're not familiar with what it is, it's NASA's next mission to the moon, Mars, further into the solar system as much as possible. And the HLS is let's just take it from NASA here. This is don't want to show you that too quickly yet. That's a little taste. Blobby, what's up, man? Happy Cappy, what's up? Anyone ever find out whether they removed the arm from the QD? No, Happy. That's the other thing. We don't know. I saw it was removed. I checked it out. Nobody knows. So we're just hanging out, waiting for SpaceX to kind of show us what their next step is with the QD arm. And can they lift Ship 20 on top of Booster 4 without a QD arm? Is that a thing? Can that be a thing in the future? We're going to find out, I think, in the next few days what's going to happen there. Or maybe they just want to stabilize Booster. Or they want to stabilize Ship 20 on the arms. Debs, thanks for that. Another super chat. One from Blobby. Thanks. Sword kind of Blobby. Thanks, Blobby and Debs. Appreciate that, man. That's really, really cool. I do appreciate that. Now, are they going to be left in Ship 20? Don't know. Are they going to be moving Booster out of the way? Probably not if Ship 20 is in the way, because we were speculating that Ship 20 was going to go away a little bit. Booster 4 was going to move off the pad. But now that's all up in the air. That's all up in the air. So let's just talk about HLS for a second, and then we'll get back to the ship stuff, and we'll kind of figure out what's going on there. So HLS, this is a huge deal for SpaceX too, because there's some information here that you may not have seen in its NASA personnel training for the lunar Artemis missions, the HLS missions with Starship hardware. It's really cool. HLS, first human landing systems in history to be developed by U.S. industry, will take astronauts from lunar orbit to the surface and back. Basically, there's a satellite space station above the moon. We dock with that. The astronauts get out of the first ship, get into the moon base, and then the moon orbiter, and then the lunar orbiter, and then they take a Starship to the surface of the moon, which is really insane if you think about it, because the Starship, Ship 20, is 150 feet tall. Right? And I've said this in the past so many times. Those ships are so big. In the way that the astronauts get down to the surface, and the way that the astronauts' equipment gets down to the surface, is with this gigantic crane mechanism, right? So it's like an elevator that they lower down onto the surface, and these astronauts start at about 100 feet in the air. How crazy is that? 100 feet in the air, and you have to take an elevator, and the elevator isn't just, it's not just an elevator that you would see like a normal elevator. It's open. So you're staring over the moon, the lunar surface, as you're being lowered about 100 feet to the base, which is the lunar surface. Gary Cunningham, thank you so much. Aren't 20 and Ford both outdated by this time? Yeah, I think so. And we'll have to get into that a little bit, because I'll talk about that in a little bit, but that's a really great question. Are they outdated, or are they not outdated? I guess that would be, I don't know. I was trying to think of something funny, but are they outdated, or are they not outdated? And there's a good answer, and there's also sort of a in-between answer that I want to talk about. So you're 100 feet up, right? And you're on the Starship. You're in a Starship. The hatch opens. You step out onto an elevator, an open elevator, where you can see the lunar surface, you can see everything. You probably see the Earth if you're at the right spot. If you landed and are facing the Earth, that would be, how cool would that be? Like, how crazy would that be? You're 100 feet in the air. Well, not in the air, because there's no air up there. You're 100 feet up, and you see directly out, and the Earth is right there. That would be so crazy. And then you get lowered down to the surface, right? So SpaceX, NASA, and their partners have been working on this silently in the background, while SpaceX is building Starship in the foreground at Boca Chica, Starbase. And it's cool that they actually released some stuff about it. So the HLS carries crew to the lunar surface and returns them to lunar orbit. So Starship from orbit goes down to lunar surface and then carries them back up to the lunar module up there, the lunar orbiter. Serves as a habitat on the lunar surface for early Artemis missions. So early Artemis missions being SpaceX's Starship and HLS, of course. They'll be launching this thing down to the surface of the moon, and the astronauts will be inside of it. Happy Cappy, thank you so much. One round trip to Starbase, thank you so much. Every $5 that people super chat gets me down to Starbase. Gas prices rose up, so it's more like $14 now, as opposed to, so you're close, Happy. We made it today, though. We made one trip to Starbase. I really do appreciate that. It's just so generous of people to help out. I really do appreciate that. So thanks, Happy. I appreciate you. But they're 100 feet up, right? So they're in this thing, serves as the habitat on the lunar surface for early Artemis missions. So this is the habitat. People stay in this thing. This is where they live when they're on the moon. Their camping trip on the moon is inside of a SpaceX Starship. Houses equipment for surface activities, including moonwalks, sample collection, and scientific experiments. So these lifters, right? So these I was going to say cranes, but they're elevators. They can not just lift people. They lift other things. They can lift the experiments. They can lift, if you go down and you get moon rocks, if you go down to get samples of the soil, if you get whatever you can have on the surface of the moon that you want to bring up to the Starship, so you can do experiments on it. So cool. But also, you can take things from Starship, cargo from inside Starship, to the surface of the moon. So whatever you need to build a moon base, if you have a rover, if you have some sort of buggy, you can take it to the lunar surface. Thank you, J.R. Moore, for that $10 super chat. 1 round trip to the moon. Nice. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. But all the stuff is going to be in the Starship in situ building of the moon bases, the lunar bases for NASA and their partners. But the other thing is, there will be cargo starships that make it to the moon. Those cargo starships will drop off supplies, they'll drop off habitat stuff, they'll drop off supplies to keep people alive on the moon. Because you can't just go to the moon and live there and not have oxygen carted up there, like transported up there, food transported up there, water transported up there. Before we learn how to in situ make all those things on the moon, before we have a lunar base, those things have to be transported to the moon. So the lunar missions, the HLS missions, the Artemis missions, those people that are on those missions, they need to eat, they need to drink, and they need supplies to live on the moon. So the lunar Starship is fundamental. It's huge. The thing is gigantic, so you can have all sorts of things in the Starship. So April of 2020, and this is a document that NASA released in the 7th, I believe. I think it was the 7th, a couple days ago, actually, internally on the 7th, I believe. So these are some times that they checked off their list here. Uncrewed demo and first Artemis crew landing, April 2020. Base period selections announced, May 2020. Base period contracts awarded. So basically, okay, how are we going to get there, and who are we going to use for this? Contractor certification baseline reviews. What are they doing with these certifications, and can your company build this stuff out for us? Option A, solicitation issued. Contractor continuation review. April 21st, this is the important one. SpaceX selected for Option A design, development, test, and evaluation, DDT and E, and crewed demo mission, with a little asterisk at the end of it. Option A contract award, July 2021. U.S. Court of Federal Claims upholds SpaceX selection. Progress resumes. So that was the Blue Origin trying to throw a monkey wrench into all this stuff, right? So Blue Origin halted progress of this for about 7 months while they were in court battling, because Blue Origin made a mock-up basically out of plastic and cardboard and aluminum foil. I think I really do. I think it was some sort of aluminum foily stuff that they used for their mock-up. And SpaceX is like, look, man, we're already building the rocket for this. We're already building this. We already have it. Why not pick us? We've already demonstrated that we also have propulsive landing and all these other things that are Starship only things right now. And that's why Blue Origin was like, well, we can make this. We just haven't made it yet. It's like trusting someone, because Blue Origin really hasn't done anything to show that they can build these things other than the Blue Origin trips to space, which you can buy. Those are pretty cool. The propulsive landing, of course, but they also had their whole national team involved with that. So I believe that down the line they'll have something on the moon. But I also believe that SpaceX's first SpaceX flights will be really cool. So those lawsuits kind of threw a monkey wrench in everything for a long time. November 2021, U.S. Court of Federal Claims upholds SpaceX selection. Progress resumes. So it was a bunch of months. Those lawsuits against SpaceX and NASA turned Blue Origin into Sioux Origin Marina. I agree with you. Yeah, that's kind of what happened. And the meme-averse right there. So Hank says, I'm working on a school project making a Mars base model using custom design. What? That's cool, dude. Yeah, that's crazy. That's cool, man. We had a project like that in our art class a long time ago. It's a little side note. When I was a kid, but it was a moon base. What would you want to see on the moon? And the only thing they gave us were index cards, like these little these little cars like this big, and then you had to like make a moon base out of them. No 3D printing, it was just tape, tape in those little cardboard cards. And we made like the most janky base. It was amazing. So I guarantee yours is going to be way better than mine, and I'm really excited. I want to see it. I think it'd be cool. Post it up in the Discord when you're done with it. I think it'd be awesome. Um, if SpaceX will stack Starship today, the chopsticks are attached. I know, Crispy. That's what I'm saying. We're waiting on that. We're gonna see how that happens throughout the day. So here's the really cool part that I want to show you guys. Artemis 3 concept of operations. This is where it gets tasty. So we have Earth orbit, right? So we have this is the thing. I'll show you close-ups of this stuff too. There is a big ol' long Starship. I think it's 5 rings bigger than the current Starships. How cool is that? That's the propeller fill Starship, right? And then we have other Starships here, 4 other Starships, which will be filling and refueling in orbit, in Earth orbit. And then we have the lunar option on the right side of that, which will go to orbit. We'll fill it up with that. And there will be tankers up there waiting for it. They'll dock. They'll transfer fuel in orbit. SpaceX actually got a contract, I believe, last year with NASA where they won a contract where they have to show that they could do propellant filling in orbit. Crazy. Or maybe it was under Jim Bridenstine. I can't remember. I can't remember exactly when they got it, but they did get a contract for that. So, and then they transfer up, right? So then we have the SLS. We have the Space Launch System, which launches Orion capsule to. So it shows here, which is kind of funny, because Artemis 3, Orion, and then crew transfer to Starship, right? And this is kind of a weird thing because they just show this on. They don't have a lunar outpost yet, right? They don't have the lunar orbiter. So it's just from Orion to Starship, which is really weird, right? So then Orion stays in orbit around the moon, and then Starship goes to the lunar surface, upside down, I guess. And then they launch from the lunar surface when they're done with their work, come back up into lunar orbit, transfer to Orion, and I'm not sure what happens to this lunar Starship after this. Possibly come back to Earth, but also possibly start making a moon base with these Starships. That's the interesting part, because they don't show in these diagrams. Variable stays on the moon, crew returns to orbit, but the Orion launch, extended loiter if needed, hang out for a little bit, and then variable stays on the moon, and the variable is the crew ship. It goes back up to orbit, but then once they're in Orion, does the crew transfer ship, this Starship, does that come into Earth orbit? Or does that stay in lunar orbit? Or does that go back down to the lunar surface? It's going to be interesting to find out for the Artemis 3 concepts here, concepts of operations, because you don't know what happens to it. It's still in lunar orbit, as far as we know, after this stage right here. So let me know what you think in chat. Do you think they're going to go back to the lunar surface? And we'll come back to this in a second, and I want to see what you guys say. But do you think they'll stay in lunar orbit, go back down to the lunar surface, or return to Earth with the Starship lunar variant? I think those are important things. Now let's take a look at this. Actually, not that. This is what I'm talking about earlier. There we go. I did a little brief glimpse. So these are some of the elevators that SpaceX and NASA are working on. This is our first glimpse of these elevators. There's enough room for people here. And as you can see, this person right here, this person is wearing the same thing that these people on the bottom are wearing. It's it's a mock-up of basically an astronaut backpack. So the equivalent to a backpack, a rucksack, if you will. You put it on your back, right? And it has oxygen, it has all the things that you need, all your equipment to survive on the lunar surface. And these people are using um, this lift mechanism with this on their back to see if these operations will work with these things on your back. Will you get snagged on a cable? Will you bump into things? You have to have enough room so you don't bump into things and ruin anything on your suit. Because if something happens to your suit, that's the end of that mission. Go right back into the Starship, for you. And then, it's basically, it's a spacesuit isn't actually a spacesuit. It's a vehicle, right? So it's a vehicle for a human to get around on another celestial body. So as opposed to, having a rover or a buggy or something like that, this thing, possibly the new lunar suits by NASA, which are huge, by the way. They're pretty cool looking. They're like the old scuba suits. They look like cool old scuba suits. But if you get into one of these crane elevators, that's the easiest part, according to Elon Musk. This elevator, and I'm always skeptical about elevators. This one especially, the lunar elevator, because if something happens to the elevator halfway up, what do you do? You only have so much oxygen. I mean, I guess you could jump, but are you also tethered to the Starship? Probably not. The interior Starship. There's probably no umbilical cord, with oxygen and stuff from the Starship down 100 feet. And as you can see on the left, it's up there, man. You're way up there, up over here where this red square is. You're way up there, and then you have to go all the way down to the bottom. But these mock-ups, crew and cargo elevator right here, right there. Look at that. There's a lot of room in there. It looks like there's enough room for 4 people, and it looks like they have bars that you hold on to stabilize yourself. It's just like, sometimes they have railings in a regular elevator, or the rail at an escalator, something that's moving up and down. Like you can, when you first step on the escalator, you're like, ooh, So when you're on the lunar surface, 1, that's different than normal. 2, you're going down on an elevator. That's not normal on the lunar surface. So you have to hold on to something. And these are mock-up controls of the lunar, right here in the middle, right there. Mock-up controls of the lunar landing Starship's elevator. Very cool. Yeah. They plan to have a backup ladder. Oh, okay. So there's going to be a ladder. Okay. That's cool. That makes sense. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Happy. So let's take a look here. Do you think the lunar Starship being quite different from the regular Starship will be risky? I don't think so, 7 Pixels. We're going to get a little bit of chat questions here for a moment. I don't think so. I think it's just a variant. There's definitely going to be different sort of challenges that they risk, as they build these things. But also, it's going to take a little while to figure all this stuff out. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be riskier. I think it's going to be just different. It's going to be a little different variation, and I think SpaceX is going to be fine. Crispy Boy says, do you think they will go for a wet dress rehearsal before FAA approval, or do they have to wait? I would assume, Crispy, that they're just going to wait. I think they're going to wait for that because why risk it? If something does happen during the wet dress and like everything explodes, the environmental, approval could be a risk. So I would say just do the normal stuff until the FAA approval. And that's only a few days away. It's what, 14 days away or something? Yeah, 13, 14 days away. So like waiting 2 weeks is not a big deal for SpaceX. I mean, I've seen them wait a month or 2 already for the FAA stuff. So waiting 2 weeks, not a big deal. Yeah, well, September of 2021, it was supposed to be the launch. That's why I came down here. Like I literally moved to Brownsville so I could watch the launch in September. And I'm like gunning it down the highway going like, I hope I make it. Hope I make it in time. So September until now, like they'll be fine if they don't do it. What's up, Effed Up World? Uh, personally think, Crispy Boy says, I personally think that they might go for full stack booster static fire, but as far as I know, we haven't seen any water suppression system. Yeah, I think there's a water suppression system that they're working on, but I haven't seen anything about it either. So they may do a full stack booster fire, um, but I believe they'll do a booster static fire before they do a full stack booster fire, if that makes sense. Because if they do a booster fire before the full stack, they don't risk the Starship SN20. But if they did put the ship on the booster, um, then they'd risk ship and booster if something were to go wrong. So I think they're going to do a booster static fire beforehand. They might do another cryo test on ship 20 as well, just to kind of even it out 5 and 5. I think I said this in the last video, but I think ship has 4 static fires or 4 cryos, and booster has 5. So I think they're going to even them out. One link at a time. Hello from Oregon. Hello from Brownsville, Texas. Beautiful Brownsville, Texas. This would be difficult unless the surface is totally flat. If it leans, there could be problems. Yeah, it's a huge ship, right? Like this. Let's take a look at this ship. It's huge. It's 100 feet tall. But they're going to pick a place that's as flat as possible because they want it to be, they want it to be a test bed, right? They want it to be just full on flat, perfect. They don't want any other stuff there. So I think they're going to find a spot that's really good. So in the future, Marina says, so in the future they need to have hundreds, if not thousands of astronauts. I think that's true. I think that's totally true. They might go to lunar surface. Hold on a second. I'm reading up here a little bit. Leaving building material behind. Happy Cappy. Yeah, possibly. They could do that. They could go back down to the surface of the moon and then drop off some stuff, some materials. And then for the next mission, drop off some materials for them. Or just store it there. Like this Starship will be operational. It'll have batteries. So it'll be operational for a while. And the lunar Starship doesn't have to come back to Earth. I don't think it's ever going to come back to Earth. It's not built to. So it's not going to have tiles to come back to re-enter Earth's atmosphere. What it could do is go into Earth's atmosphere or into Earth's orbit and then refuel and come back, go back to the moon repeatedly. So going from lunar surface to lunar orbit to Earth orbit, refuel with a tanker ship, one of these tankers, one of these big old boys. And here's another shot, actually. There we go. That's a better shot of the tanker. The tanker's huge. It's like five or 6 rings bigger. You can see that than a regular Starship. Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, about 5 rings, 5 or 6 rings bigger than a regular Starship. So the tanker ship is going to be huge. And these are mock-ups from NASA. So this is like, how insane is this? This is crazy, man. Oh, man. Christopher Wedby says, hey, Will, if they were to move the big show to Florida, would you be going there too? Yes. I think if something were to happen in Brownsville where stuff stopped being built here and this is going to happen, like the Artemis launches, it's going to be repeated Starship launches. So if anything, I'll try to get a temporary spot there if I'm still living here, like if I don't move the whole operation to Florida, then I'll keep my operation here. It's going to be expensive to do both. So I can't have 2 places. It's just way too much. But yeah, anything like, as you can see, there's a link at the top of the chat for Patreon, and anything through that goes to those kind of future endeavors as well. So anything like any new members of the show, anything like that goes to those kind of new operations where, when they launch Artemis 1, I'm going to go to Florida. I got to go to Florida. Like, I can't not see this. Like, I have to see that. So anything like that, any donations, it gets me down to Starbase, but also put a little bit aside the piggy bank. Boink. Put the change in the piggy bank. And then I would love to have an apartment here and a place in Florida, but Yeah, that's way too much money, man. That's way too much. Isn't it naive to think the FAA will actually give the go-ahead in 2 weeks just because they said they would? Yeah, Zev, I think there's a possibility that they wait. There's always a possibility that they wait. They don't have to do it. If they find a reason to hold off, which could be like a great reason that they hold off, it's possible that they wait. Um, but if they push it through and everything seems okay, um, there's no reason why they shouldn't, you know? Yeah, so I really hope they do, but I'm also skeptical. You know, the FAA before has kind of pulled the rug out from underneath SpaceX and the community, and as you can see, you know, we're still waiting. I was waiting from September. I moved here in September. If I would have known it was going to take this long, even though I love it down here, I would have saved rent money and stayed in New York for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like that would have been financially that would have been great. But I'm down, and I love it here. I absolutely do love it here. So, um, doing the New York thing, doing you know, the Brownsville thing, I love it here. So that being said, I would have come down anyway. To be honest with you, it's just more fun to be able to go to Starbase every day if I have an option to, and also be this close to the next iteration of human spaceflight that's going to be going to the lunar surface, like the Artemis 3 concept of operations. NASA maintains ultimate authority. Is the next step here with the HLS. Certification of flight readiness is based on design certification built on NASA approved hazard controls, variation objective, and verification closures against NASA mandated requirements, provider compliance to NASA approved design and certification standards, provider processes in NASA process controls as ascertained by NASA risk-based insight. So basically, if SpaceX isn't cutting it, they're not going to be able to do the thing. You know, they're not going to be able to send people to the lunar surface. So NASA has the ultimate authority, and they're working with SpaceX and with other providers to get that done. So this is here's another crew and cargo elevator. The airlock at the bottom right, I believe, is from the Blue Origin national team. But as you can see, they had a full mock-up here in the middle. I don't have a close-up of that. So unfortunately, you know, I could probably try to zoom in here. Yeah, let's try to zoom in and get down there. So right there, you can see right in the middle there. Let me zoom in a little bit more for you. There you go. People are in full, like they put a full mock-up of a suit with a backpack, like two of them on this thing. So it looks like 4 people could probably fit on this, but it also looks like only 2 people in suits will be able to fit on this because that's where the controls are and that's where people will be holding on. There's like some guide rails in the middle. So it looks like a very interesting situation there for 2 astronauts to be in the middle of, you know, or a little bit off to the side, I guess, of the elevator. But also, this is a cool thing that I saw, too. Not the airlock. That's from someplace else. But crew cabin VR evaluation. You can kind of see some in the background here. SpaceX chairs, right? So these look like maybe some the ones that they use for Crew Dragon. They're probably very similar, but also these could be a variant of those. So it would be cool to see them side by side and kind of pick and choose like what's different or whatever. And these could just be stand-ins for now, but it looks like, as you can see, you can barely see it though. Like I can barely see it, and I'm like right here, but you can see they're using VR to kind of get used to, you know, the movements. VR is so cool because you can get used to the movements of the astronauts in the cabin before there's actually a cabin built. So the crew cabin, where people hang out before they go down to the lunar surface, or when they do come back up from the lunar surface, they're going to be in here testing this stuff out before it's actually built. So it's so cool that this technology exists because these astronauts, you know, they're doing their thing. And as you can see, there's a laptop below the screen. and it looks like a couple windows and a spot in the middle, and I can't really see what that is. So it's pretty interesting to see this stuff unfold before our eyes because it's pretty neat. And here's another picture. I'll explain this to you guys as well. I don't actually know what's going on with this one. So, yeah, that's the show. So we have, it looks like this person's either on the lift or doing something with a stabilizer arm, and they have the backpack on, and they're probably testing out either like a size of, this looks like the hold bar as you're going down the elevator. So it looks like this person's testing that out and like seeing what's the optimal, like SpaceX and NASA will do this. They'll find out the optimal way to stand on this thing too. So, this person's pulling back, as a normal person pulling back. What are they doing? We're not exactly sure, but they're testing some sort of, it looks like there's handholds on it. There's two. There's a black part at the top of the rail and a black part at the bottom of the rail. So either that's a handhold or that's a place where you're not supposed to touch, and these people are observing on the background saying, okay, this looks like a good option. This looks like another option. They'll take it back into the VR world or the computer world, and they'll do mock-ups of this and show people what's good and what's not, what kind of tolerances this thing has, and if it's going to work for the mission. So it's very interesting to see that, though. Human landing, sustainable human landing system studies and risk reduction. Let's take a look at this too. April 2021, sustainable HLS request for information. Next step, appendix NBAA. That's all old stuff. So let's go. Sustainable HLS draft request for proposals issued to U.S. industry to be determined 2022. In preparation for LETS, NASA selected 5 providers to develop lander design concepts, evaluate mission requirements, and mitigate risks by conducting critical component tests and advancing the maturity of key technologies. Blue Origin, Dynetics, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and SpaceX. So that's for the future. And then questions. And then there's just that's the last slide basically saying like, hey, you have any questions? Here we go. So this is the HLS. And yeah, there's a lot to be said about the human landing system for the Artemis missions. So before we go, I want to. Somebody asked earlier what I think. I forgot what the actual question was. I want to scoot up here a little bit and chat. Our Gary Cunningham super chatted and said, aren't Ship 20 and Booster 4 both outdated by this time? So Booster 4 is at stage 0, hanging out, doing its thing. Testing's going on. They're working on it all the time. Booster 4 right now is an outdated design, but I believe Ship 20 and Booster 4 are great candidates for a first test flight, mainly because they went through the whole gambit of tests so far, except for static fire as a booster, of course, and wet dress rehearsal for Booster and Ship 20, and a full booster test fire with Ship 20 on top of it. I think since they've been tested so much, if SpaceX were to take them apart, move them over to, the rocket garden by the build site, I think they would have to spend months and months retesting another ship or booster in order to get it to just to the same spot that Booster 4 and Ship 20 are. And Ship 20 and Booster 4 seem like they're doing okay. So there'd be really no reason for them to, not do Booster 4 and Ship 20 actually. So I think they're in a good spot. I don't think they need to move on to the next variant. Is it possible? It's 100% possible that they do, that they're not happy with the test results that they have, but there's also a huge possibility that they're okay with everything. and that Ship 20 and Booster 4 are doing okay. I think I think that the variants coming up, the Franken ship and Booster 7, they're looking good. You know, next boosters in the high bay. It may be moved out today. Maybe moved out of the high bay. Maybe that's what they're doing with the road closure. Maybe they're not lifting anything. Maybe they're moving the booster out of the high bay to the rocket garden to store it so they can build another one and build another ship. You know, and keep stacking these ships, 15, 16, Franken ship, Booster 5, Booster 7. They'll have just a gambit, an array of ships out there. And then they can finally get into the Raptor 2. You know, Raptor 1, they'll get a lot of data from that launch, from the orbital launch from Raptor 1, if they actually do choose to use it and use Ship 20 and Booster 4. But will they have enough data to use it for Raptor 2? Raptor 3 possibly? Depends on how high it goes. See where it goes, if it makes it off the pad. But they also risk destroying ground, stage 0, which is where these people are working. Like stage 0, the ground level, that's the Elon was saying it's more difficult than the ship and the booster, or as difficult. So it's possible that they just don't use this ship because they fear for stage 0 going forward. So it's a tough question because we don't know what's going on in the background. Nobody really does. And if they tell you they know what's going on, they don't really. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. They don't really. Like some of these experts, they tell you some things that they know what's going on, and they do have some sources, right? So they do know some people. But in all actuality, if you don't work at SpaceX, you don't actually know what's going on. You know, you might know some people. They know some people, but no one's going to give you the inside scoop and risk their job at SpaceX. Like you're making 100 G's a year. You're making 100 grand a year, right? $100,000 per year. And why would you go to some random YouTuber and spill the beans and everything that's going forward with SpaceX and Ship 20 and Booster 4? Like I've talked to people at SpaceX. I've met people that work at Starbase, but no one's gonna give up that information, guaranteed, unless it's just a random. You're at a bar sometime and you're like, "Hey, dude, can I buy you a drink? You're a SpaceX employee," and then they get drunk and they tell you. Like they might tell you in other circumstances too. I'm just saying it's very unlikely. So anybody that tells you otherwise, and I'm not saying anybody's a liar. I'm just saying that it's very highly unlikely that anyone's going to tell you when Ship 20 or if Ship 20 and Booster 4 are going to launch. So my guess is as good as anybody else's guess out there, including yours. So it's just that I have some information from down here at Starbase. It's just a little bit different when you know some people, So could you talk about or show video of the new Road to Brownsville port? Oh, hey, Tom. Did you leave a comment on my last video? Because I think I saw that. Got a 15-second update on one channel, but I would like to learn more about it. Yeah, that would be cool. I could definitely do that. There's no outlet on that road, so I'm not sure where it goes. I know it goes. It's right past the Border Patrol, right? So you go to the Border Patrol, and then like maybe half a mile to a mile down, you could swing a left, swing a Louis, if you will, and then go to the port. But I don't know where it actually goes, and I don't know like what the rules are for driving down there. But it's open, so I don't know. I'll look into that for you. But it would be cool to take a little drive, and if I do drive down it, I'll take a GoPro and I'll mount it on my car and I'll post it up so people can see what it is. And I just don't want to get in trouble. Like I don't want a ticket, man. That's where I'm coming from. But it would be cool to see that too, Tom. I agree. Like exploration down there is a key to getting to know the area too, and getting to know what's going on. So I think it'd be pretty cool. Crispy Boy says, absolutely. I'm curious to see the changes from B7 to B4 or B4 to B7 with the copies, not to mention Raptor 2 with the increase in thrust. Will we see more thrust tests? I think so. I think we'll see more tests. Raptor 2 is incredible. compared to Raptor 1, but I think that it would be a good idea to test Raptor 1 and to test this ship out because like I was saying before, it took months for them to get to the point. I mean, there's a let's see here. I think I have a document somewhere. It was exported. Um, let me see if I can find it. This is kind of like after show stuff where we just talk and hang out. Um, maybe in here? No, it's not it. Let me see if I can find it. But there's a whole lift. Oh, you know what it is? It's there we go. Um, let's see. Yeah, I think so. SpaceX Ship 20 has had four, or there's a static fire test December 29th. So like the testing has gone on for since last year. December 29th, static fire. There's been cryo tests in September of last year. So September, October, November, December, January, February, March. That's 7 months of testing for Ship 20. 7 months. So if they were to take Ship 20 off in Booster 4 away from stage 0 and away from the launch site, it may take them 7 months to get back to this point. So why would they move Ship 20 and Booster 4 out of there when it would postpone their launches by 7 months? Even if they cut it in half, even if they cut it in half, 3.5 months, you know, that's still a long time. But that's just for that testing. That's just for cryo testing. And I believe, let me see if Booster 4, I want to see if Booster 4 has when the first test of Booster 4 was. Um, Cryo test was December 17th, 2021. Yeah. So back in December, and let's see what Ship 20 was. I got another thing here. Yeah. Ship 20 cryo test September 29th. So about 7 months. Frankenship is 21 and 22 parts of both put together. It's in the rocket garden right now. It looks pretty cool. Let me see if I have a picture of it. There we go. It's the one in the middle. You can barely see it, but it's the one in the middle there. Yeah. So you can barely see it there. Um, but yeah, it's the one in the middle of ship 15 and 16. And then booster 4 is off to or booster 5 is off to the side there. But we just call it Frankenship. It's just a bunch of parts, a couple different parts. But yeah, we're looking forward to what happens with Ship 20. Ship 20 right now is on the arms. It's on the lift arms. Could just be testing it. Could be testing the lift arms of some sort. Could they be doing a lift? Possibly. Is it likely? Maybe. At this point. Yeah. Yeah, Crispy, you're right. Yeah, it's parts of Ship 20 and Ship 22, or Ship 2020 and Ship 22. Elon talked about the 2026 launch window for Mars mission, but I'm not feeling that timeline based on these changing test timelines. Yeah, it's tough. The HLS stuff going on, and there's all this other testing going on too. Could they be doing? Here's another little video that NASA Johnson put out of Orion and another lander, which is not SpaceX. But there's the lunar ship headed to the moon. Headed to the moon. Really cool. So lift and stack, I guess. Marina, I think that might be one variation of what's going to be happening. I think they might um, lift up Ship 20, stack it on top of Booster 4, and just get it ready for something. But I'm not sure what they're gonna do. Like it's gonna be a tough one for the next couple of days to figure out what the heck is going on down there. But because they don't tell you anything, you can go down there and check out whatever you want. But they may be doing a full stack of booster and ship 20 pretty soon. But you never know. What happens if they launch it without FAA approval? They're going to pay a huge fine and probably not get FAA approval anytime soon. So that would be silly. Robbie Dub, what's up, man? Hello, one love. Yeah. Yeah. So if they do a stack, though, I mean, if they do a full stack, it would be pretty crazy and it would be amazing again. And if they do a full stack, we can get ready for, say, a cryo test of Booster 4 and Ship 20 at the same time. That would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. So I think that's the next step once they get all this stuff done. And then a full wet dress, of course. But if something does happen during the full wet dress and something doesn't go as planned, they could hold off on the FAA stuff because FAA could just be like, wait, you guys messed up. And we got to do an environmental survey of what actually happened when this thing blew up. So I don't think SpaceX is going to do the full wet dress or booster fire tests or booster static fires until it's absolutely positive that the FAA is going to approve them. I think they're just going to wait. It's only half a month. It's not that big of a deal. So I think that's about it for today, guys. We're almost at an hour here. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming to the show. Thanks to all the super chats today, too. I'm going to take a look and see what happened with the super chat. Happy Cappy. We got Debs. We got JR Moore. Debs twice. JR Moore with the 10. Happy Cappy with the 10. Gary Cunningham with a 5. Debs with 2 2s. Thank you so much for all of your support. If you want to help out the show, super chat is the easiest way to do it. Click on the little money icon at the bottom of the chat. Helps me get down to Starbase. Helps me get videos, photos. Keep bringing you content every day. This stuff is, getting down to Starbase. It's expensive. So any help is greatly appreciated. I do appreciate you. And, as far as I know, so I'm going to do a little, I'm going to do a little prediction here for a Starship launch for 2022. I think we're going June for a Starship launch. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm guessing. June Starship launch. Has it been confirmed that Lunar Starship will have the 6 config vacuum Raptors, or have they not decided? I'm not 100% sure on that one, so I can't really answer that one. But this is from, I want to show you this real quick. We could take a look at it. This is from Johnson. So right here, Johnson Space Center, NASA's Johnson Space Center. I'm going to make this big and it might make it out of frame. No, it's right there. So we have 3 vacuum Raptors and then 3 regular Raptors on a lunar starship. So that might answer your question, but this isn't the full answer, I guess, at this point. So right there, you can kind of see it. 3 vacuums and 3 regulars. Michael Maxey, what's up, man? How you doing? We're just getting done here. We're just wrapping up. Dallas here. I totally want to come down for launch. JR, you should do it. You should come down to hang out. I mean, come and hang out and just look at Starship. I don't know if you've been down here before, JR, but it's crazy. It's crazy down here. In a good way. Like, you get to see some really cool stuff. So I would suspect coming down here for a just hang out, even for a day trip. How far away is Dallas? It's not that. Oh, it's like 10 hours, isn't it? It's pretty far. It's pretty far. Yeah, Dallas Fort Worth is like 10 hours away or something. 8 to 10 hours. So it's like a full day trip. Yeah. Went last March. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's getting good down here. I'm telling you that. Everything down here at Starbase is growing like crazy. And every day it's something new. So it's pretty cool. Starship is on the chopsticks. Yes, yes, it is. I'm so pumped about that because we don't know what's going to happen, but probably a lift of some sort. That's what we're hoping. Happy Cappy, thanks for the $10 super chat. And Johnny Spacer, thanks for the $5 super chat too, for the tip jar. Awesome. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you guys. Like, no matter how many times I go live here, you guys always come through, and it makes my life so much easier to know that, um, that I could pay rent. Basically, I'm just one dude. I do everything here. Like, Neil does design stuff and he does merch stuff, that kind of stuff. But literally, like, I do everything. I do everything else. So I do have help along the way, and people help with, ideas and things like that. But like the actual like going to Starbase and filming and all that stuff, I had to learn along the way. So I'm just like, let's go do it. It sounds like fun. So yeah, so it really does help. It helps a ton. And I'm trying to do a fundraiser for, trying to figure out a fundraiser for Space Camp kids too. So just keep that in mind for the future. For any donations that we get for X amount of shows, I'm going to donate a portion of that to Space Camp because I think it's important to get kids involved with these things. So anything like that going forward, as far as I'm concerned, I got to give back. So when I was a kid, I wanted to go to Space Camp, and there are programs out there to get people funding to go to Space Camp because I never had the money. Like, we didn't have any money growing up. So there's no way I was going to Space Camp, but there are funds out there to get people down to Space Camp, which would be really cool. So I want to help that. I want to help out. So that'll be the future thing, or we can start it whenever, and I'll have to find the right charity and the right people to work with, and start doing that. I think that'll be really cool. Could be really fun. But yeah, anything that I have extra goes right into going to an Artemis launch. I can't go to the rollout. I don't have enough money right now. I'm just telling you, like, it's expensive to get to Florida. It's over 1,000 miles away. Hotels and stuff, a lot of money. So going to the rollout, I wasn't invited either. so I can't really go. I could maybe see it from far away, but not worth it to just try that. So yeah. You probably already said, but what did they take off of the tower and why? They took off part of the QD arm. We're not sure why. Full stack cryoproof in the next few days, perhaps. That would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. I think that's a possibility. So there's a few road closures coming up in the next few days, and make sure they didn't change. But basically the next week, from Monday through Thursday, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., they have road closures every day, at least scheduled. So there's a possibility that they lift Ship 20. They have to do all the tests too. So Ship 20 is on the arms right now, but they have to make sure it's secure. You have to do small tests to make sure it doesn't, flop over, fall off, basically. And then they'll probably do those either later today or early tomorrow morning. But Highway 4, March 15th, I'm reading this right now on the Cameron County website. They usually do these PDF uploads when something kind of major is happening and they expect something big to happen. So March 15th, they express that SpaceX has between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Central Time, and then March 16th and March 17th as well, for non-flight testing. So yeah, a stack of Ship 20 on top of Booster 4, possibly. They could also use this as a way to move Booster 7 out of the high bay into the rocket garden. So they could use this road closure for that too, because it'll take a while. It'll take, the thing's huge, and it takes about an hour-ish, maybe 30 minutes to an hour to get over to the rocket garden from the high bay. So they have to close down the road for that. Nobody's allowed in. No one's allowed out, when this thing's happening, and it's huge. So very cool, though. Very, very cool that could be happening in the next few days. So yeah, looking forward to that. Highway 4 Alt Sour from Port of Brownsville to Starbase is open now. Yeah, it's weird because they have closures, right? And then they don't close the road. It's weird. Like you'll see people like live streamers down there during road closures, and you're like, they're just waiting to get kicked out, basically. They're just waiting for it, which I've gotten kicked out a few times by the cops. Basically, the cops come down and go, okay, the road's closed now. You guys have to leave, and then you go, oh, okay, cool. See you guys later, and then you get to leave. So, so it's not like you get kicked out. It's like they just tell you to leave because the roads are closed and no people can be there that aren't SpaceX employees. Yeah, pretty cool though. Can they do a test fire of all engines on the Super Heavy now, or do they have to wait until FAA environment review is completed? I think they're going to wait till after the FAA stuff. Yeah. The Pearl in South Padre Island has a SpaceX rate and will put you on south side with great view of the launch tower. Oh, cool. That's cool. I'll take a look at that. SpaceX rate, huh? Pearl South Padre. Oh yeah, I've driven past that a bunch of times. I've never stayed there, but yeah, pretty cool. Let's see how much they cost though. Let's do this for everybody else who's out there who wants to go to South Padre Island to see a launch. Let's just I'm gonna give them the rate for 2 adults, 0 children, and then we'll do select a stay next. There we go. Let's just do May 10th through the 14th, just in case it launches then. May 10th it's a middle of the week Tuesday, 1:35. 11th is 1:35. The 12th is 1:35. The 13th is 2:03, which is a Friday, and then the Saturday is 2:03. So anyway, so just say about $165 average, somewhere around there, for a stay at the Pearl per night. So if you have $600, $700, you can stay at South Padre Island for a couple days with a two-person room. So if you get one of your buddies to come down with you, or your significant other, or somebody come down and split the cost, that's not bad. And then you get to watch a SpaceX launch, or just hang out on a beautiful island. Like South Padre Island is amazing. I love it over there. FAA has 17 days. I think the decision has been made by FAA, but the FAA doesn't want to announce it. I think they're pretty close too. And I've read a few things from local sources here that say the FAA is in favor of this. They just have to make sure that everything's in line, So there's a few things locally here that point to all sources saying yes. So Michael, I think you're on the mark there. I think they're good to go. They just have to wait for a few different things to come through. So anyway, I'm really leaving now. I'm really leaving this time, guys. I really do appreciate you guys. I really, really do. The last super chats, Johnny Spacer for the tip jar, and Happy Cappy, thanks for the 10. Thanks for the thank you. I appreciate you, of course. Helps out the show tremendously, helps me out, helps pay rent, etc. So love you guys. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. And then I'm going to play the really cool ending screen. Check this out. Ending. Watch this. Check this out. Doink. Pretty cool. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show... I got to do this for the last... There we go. Last Starship. Johnny Spacer, thank you for that $5 super chat donation. There we go. You get a Starship. Everyone gets a Starship if you super chat. And your name gets shown on screen because you are amazing. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. Let's make it big. There we go. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves and each other. Michael Maxey says the beach and Highway 4 is being closed and cleared now. There we go. They're going to be doing something at the launch site, hopefully soon. Take care, everybody.